Welcome to our deep dive into the life of Saint Francis de Sales, the gentle saint whose spiritual wisdom continues to guide Christians around the world. If you're new to our channel, make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment below to share your thoughts on this incredible saint and his profound impact on the Catholic Church. In this video, we'll uncover how Saint Francis, born in 1567, transformed not only his life, but the lives of countless people who were inspired by his message of love, gentleness, and spiritual dedication. Get ready to discover how his life can still influence us today in our quest for holiness. Early life, a noble birth with a divine calling. Saint Francis de Sales was born on August 21, 1567, in the castle of Sales in the Savoy region of modern-day France. His family was part of the nobility, and like most young men of noble birth, his parents expected him to pursue a military or political career. However, from an early age, Francis exhibited an extraordinary spirituality that set him apart from his peers. Despite his family's ambitions for him, Francis felt a calling to something higher. His childhood was marked by a deep love for God and a commitment to prayer. At an early age, he felt a strong pull to become a priest, but the expectations of his family weighed heavily on him, and he struggled with balancing his spiritual aspirations with his worldly responsibilities. The spiritual crisis and his decision to follow God. During his teenage years, Francis attended the prestigious College of Clermont in Paris, where he was exposed to humanist ideas and deep theological studies. It was here that he faced a spiritual crisis, questioning whether he was among God's elect. This fear and doubt led him to intense periods of prayer and meditation, especially before the image of the Virgin Mary, where he found peace and reaffirmed his trust in God's mercy. It was after overcoming this crisis that Francis made a firm decision to devote his life entirely to God. He took a vow of chastity and resolved to pursue the priesthood. But, keeping this decision secret, he followed his family's wishes and pursued studies in law at the University of Padua. He earned his doctorate in both civil and canon law, fulfilling his family's hopes for his future. Becoming a priest, a vocation beyond the world. At 24, after completing his studies, Francis made the bold decision to reveal his true calling to his family. He wanted to become a priest. At first, his father resisted, but recognizing his son's deep conviction and spiritual maturity, he eventually gave his blessing. In 1593, Francis was ordained as a priest in the Diocese of Geneva, a region greatly affected by the Protestant Reformation. Although the area was dominated by Calvinism, Francis was determined to bring back the faithful to the Church. He faced severe opposition and hardship, but he believed in the power of love and patience over force and coercion. This would become the hallmark of his ministry, a gentle yet firm resolve to win souls through kindness and understanding. Missionary work in Chablais, spreading the faith with love. Francis began his missionary work in the Chablais region, where he faced significant challenges. Catholics were in the minority and often persecuted by the Calvinists who controlled the area. But Francis remained undeterred. He began writing pamphlets, explaining Catholic doctrines and refuting the errors of Calvinism. His pamphlets were written by hand and distributed with care, reaching out to both the educated and the common people. His fame grew as a preacher who could explain complex theological ideas with simplicity and sweetness. He never used violence or personal attacks. Instead, he used patience, prayer, and respectful dialogue to bring people back to the Church. Over time, his efforts bore fruit, and many people returned to the Catholic faith. Spiritual direction, a holiness accessible to all. Francis developed a unique method of spiritual direction that would make him famous. He believed that holiness was not limited to monks or clergy, but was accessible to everyone. He taught that lay people could live holy lives in the midst of their everyday occupations, transforming ordinary activities into acts of devotion to God. His most famous work, Introduction to the Devout Life, offered practical advice on how to live a life of holiness, regardless of one's station in life. He emphasized that true holiness is not about extreme asceticism or heroic deeds, but about living with love and humility in all things. His teachings challenged the idea that holiness was reserved only for those in religious vocations. As Bishop of Geneva, continuing the mission. In 1602, Francis became the Bishop of Geneva. Though he could not reside in the city due to the Calvinist occupation, he continued his pastoral work with the same zeal and dedication. He reformed the clergy, promoted the frequent reception of the sacraments, and insisted on the importance of religious education for the people. Despite the heavy responsibilities of being a bishop, Francis continued to offer spiritual direction, guide souls in prayer, and spend hours in the confessional. His most beloved works, such as Treatise on the Love of God, became essential texts for Catholics seeking to deepen their spiritual lives. The spiritual friendship with Saint Jane Frances de Chantal. One of the most significant partnerships in Francis's life was with Saint Jane Frances de Chantal. Together, they founded the Order of the Visitation of Saint Mary, a religious community dedicated to humility, charity, and prayer. This collaboration was a perfect example of how spiritual friendships can be a source of strength and encouragement in pursuing holiness. Francis believed that all Christians, whether priests or lay people, were called to live a life of holiness. He encouraged them to follow the example of Mary, whose humility and obedience to God provided the perfect model of Christian life. His legacy and teachings. A lasting influence. Throughout his life, Saint Francis de Sales was known for his meekness, patience, and deep love for God. His famous saying, "A spoonful of honey attracts more flies than a barrel of vinegar," perfectly encapsulated his approach to evangelization. He believed that gentleness was the key to winning hearts for Christ, and his life demonstrated that true strength lies in loving kindness. His writings, including Introduction to the Devout Life and Treatise on the Love of God, have become classics of Catholic spirituality. He is considered one of the greatest spiritual directors in history, and his teachings continue to influence the Church today. The end of his life, peaceful resignation. In his later years, Francis's health began to deteriorate, but he continued his pastoral work with unwavering dedication. On December 28, 1622, after suffering a heart attack, he died peacefully at the age of 55. His legacy of holiness, wisdom, and charity has endured for centuries. He was canonized in 1665 and declared a Doctor of the Church in 1877. A saint for all time. Saint Francis de Sales is a model of gentle holiness and pastoral care. His message of love, patience, and trust in divine providence is as relevant today as it was in his time. His life reminds us that holiness is not about grand gestures or extreme acts, but about living each day with love, humility, and dedication to God. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about saints who changed the world, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Let us know in the comments how Saint Francis de Sales has impacted your spiritual life, and feel free to share your thoughts and questions. If you found this video inspiring, please like it, subscribe for more content on the lives of saints, and share it with friends and family who might find Saint Francis's teachings helpful. And don't forget to leave a comment below to let us know what you think.